Well, held for quite a long time there, but you can see the Italian colours in the centre there of Eva Lechner getting away very well. She opted to take the centre position. The riders being introduced, the top 8 at the very end of call-up this year. So we have the top 8 coming out to the line at the very last moment, and they get to choose their start position. And it looks like Eva Lechner went for the centre, but as they come up towards, now she's moved over to her right. And it's now a fast-moving Milka rider. It looks coming through now from the Milka Trek team, trying to pick up the colours for him. Might be one of the Swiss girls going through. And a good field. And you can see just after here there is a steep climb, but they're going to move around to the right, just behind our commentary booth there and the satellite trucks. They will move around to their right. So the field sweeps around, and now the camera picks them up here. There is a double line option here. Most of them will go to their left, which is the B line, instead of going through the flat rock garden. There it is off to the left. Now, on the right there, you see the rock garden. That will be the compulsory route for the rest of the race. But for the start, as they go onto the big screen, there are 2 big screens here to keep the crowd entertained. But just there by the 2-3 sign there, you can see the rock garden in our foreground. That's where they'll be going for every other lap. But for the start loop, there is an option to go both, but you can see most are going the smoother route to the riders left. Already a couple of riders getting hooked up there. But as I said, a good field of 56 riders. We had a test event here, more or less. It was a national race here last weekend, and the conditions were atrocious. It rained 33 millimetres for 3 days in a row, so more than 100 millimetres. And I guess in old school, that's about 4 inches of rain, and it was like a swamp here. We've got to replay the restart there. You see Eva Lechner there in the triple colours there of the Italian national jersey. And also trying to look there for the world champion Maja Włoszowska, the CCC rider. She should be there in the world champions colours. She's a little bit back. She didn't have a great World Cup season at the end of last year, and is a little bit further back on the grid. You see her in position 14. And we have the Chinese riders back now. Ren Chengwan is there as well. I can see her about midfield on your right of screen in the red Chinese national colours. And so it was plate number, it looks like Marie-Hélène Premont moving up there. So a good start by her. I was talking to her just before the start, and she wasn't here 2 years ago. She was studying her last years of pharmacology and wasn't able to come, so schooling was very intense that year. So let's try and pick up that number. Is it number 9? Yes, it is Natalie Schneider, the Swiss girl, so we did pick that up right in for the Colnago team, teammate of Eva Lechner. So it was Colnago 1-2 going through here. A very good start by the Italian team as they go through again through the start-finish. We'll pick that up very shortly, but they went straight past our start-finish area on the start loop. But as I said, a week ago, really difficult conditions, and it was Irena Kalentieva who won in the mud just 7 days ago. So once again, Natalie Schneider, the winner from Chambéry, she's now moving up and continuing with her lead. I can see it looks like Irena Kalentieva sitting in third now, and Marie-Hélène Premont, number 8, sitting there in third, and fourth through there going Lissy Ursel in the Austrian national jersey. Good ride there by Mary McConaughey to get up into the top 10. And this looks like one of the rider number 11 coming through there is Katarina Nash, one of the Luna Pro team. The Luna Pro team didn't ride here 2 years ago, opting to miss this race with the travel with Sea Otter Classic and so forth. So it's their first trip to South Africa. And they've just come from the Sea Otter Classic, an epic amount of travel there from the USA to be here ready to race. Do you think there's a big difference for the travel for the riders preparing for a race of this nature?
It's always so unusual. You want to talk about this first and we'll get back to that?
Yeah, they're actually out of the seat here and attacking. This is through the second feed zone, and we've got a feed zone down near the start finish, and once again riders out of the saddle get out of that sharp corner and move up. There's Lissy Ursel, the Austrian rider, previous World Cup overall champion, and it looks like Julie Bressett making a bit of a move there. Or is it one of the Rabobank colours? Trying to pick up if that's the SR Suntour colours for this year. We've got to get to know all the team colours, but I think it is Julie Bressett sitting in there in second, plate number 12. Yes, it is. It's her posture. She's got quite an arch back while she rides. So the second place rider there is under 23 this season. So she was the big rival to Emily Batty last year, and Emily Batty now up into the elite ranks. And as you know, we have now under 23s racing separately, but the very top under 23 riders in the world are allowed to, the top 5 can choose whether or not they want to race elite or not. Well, Bressett
nice
definitely taking a nice pass there and choosing to race against the elite. Great little section here as they run down through the hairpins. Bressett making her move on the descent and getting ahead of Natalie Schneider, who I thought would have been quite strong in the descents given Chambéry. But
I think she actually got a bit tired on the climb. To me, it looked like she Well, she's obviously started fast, but she looked a bit blown at the top of that climb.
Yeah, she's definitely got more of a power rider's body build than a climber. So looks like she's definitely lost out a bit of ground there on Brissett, and the other riders have to watch now they don't get caught up behind Schneider, and Brissett gets a good psychological advantage, a gap there. You can see Pendrell now looking for a way to get past the ride in front of her, which is Marie-Hélène Premont, and you don't want to be holding riders up here on the descent. Gaps will form here if the riders aren't confident going down through here and they've got the front wheel. So let's see who we can pick up there. That's plate number 5 going through. That's Esther Seuss, the not the veteran of the field, but she's certainly one of the older ladies in the field, and she did very, very well last year. And she's been a former marathon world champion and current world champion actually in marathon. Races the Cape Epic, and she's 36 years of age, going through plate number 5 in the Swiss National Champions jersey. Sitting right behind her there is Katharina Nash, and she is a rider to watch here. So Ursel out of the seat and running. That seems a bit odd to be running there. She must have missed a gear or done something wrong on that low corner.
So. I don't think too much different preparation. I really feel like the first couple laps are so important in a World Cup, and holding that speed till the end. So, yeah, 15 minutes shorter, I guess you can be happy. Maybe you don't have to go up the climb one last time, but I think it's still all about how fast you start.
Well, the French rider really taking it to the rest of the field now. She's got quite a good gap, and it's been a long time since we've seen an under-23 rider, male or female, at the front of a World Cup cross-country race. Like, really up there for a win. We'd have to go back to the days of Miguel Martinez and Cadel Evans when those two were tussling it out as under-23 riders at the front of the men's field, so back in the late 90s. And here we are 10 years later, and we have an under-23 rider, Julie Brissett, who was taken out by injury towards the end of last year, but she'd already been dominant in the under-23s last year and was on quite a few World Cup podiums. I remember that she had at least 3 or 4 World Cup podiums last year. So doing very well. Obviously, well, caught up a bit of ground there, the second place rider too. Here's the rock garden. Have a look at this. Very, very technical. You can imagine this in the rain last week. We saw quite a few falls in the under-23 men here today, and it looks like Irena Kalentieva wanting to take it to her now in the rock garden. Oh, having a little bit of a step up there. She's got to get out of the way of Natalie Schneider now. Doesn't want to balk her there on the rocks as Catherine Pendrell tries to find a gap, and it wasn't there. The door got shut. Esther Zeus handling it quite well. Lissy Ursel, very nice on the inside there. So we'll stick with this shot. We'll probably watch quite a few of the riders come through here. Really tricky. You have to really focus on what's happening with your bike and just in front of you. You can't really look too far down the track, can you?
Yes, and really rooting for her all of a sudden. I'm like, yeah, that would be cool.
She
new
handled
winner.
that.
I like new winners.
She's a good little bike handler too.
Yeah, she's great.
And in the French national colours, she is the national champion, despite being under 23. And great to see a young rider do so well, because typically our average age in the women's field is a little bit older than that. And
did I just see Ren go by? Or was that?
In the red colours,
Yeah.
could well be if Ren's moved up, because her races last year, she only did 1 from memory, and it wasn't that great. So there's Mary McConaughey sitting there on the back of, is it Katharina Nash there? And the other CCC rider, that's not Maya. Let's see, plate number 20.
Is that Anna?
Yeah, if it's Anna Szafranec, yeah. Anna Szafranec there. A depth of talent from Poland.
Heather Ermiger's moved up.
And that's her, they're going through there, number 17. So we'll look for the number. Let's see the number for the Chinese rider, Ren, and we'll keep an eye out for her. I think she started a little bit further back in the field from, let's see what, no, yes, she was number 47. So as I've always mentioned in commentary, the higher the number that you see towards the front, the better start they've had. And here she is, number 12, Julie Brissett. She finished 14th here 2 years ago, so she's no stranger to the venue. And she's been a twice bronze medalist in the in World Championships, once as a junior, one as an under-23. You can see quite easily there the gap she's got. That's going to come out to around about 10 seconds or so, even more. So let's see the red colours here. That shot probably Esther Seuss that we'll see come through now in the Swiss National. No, it is Ren, you're right, absolutely. Wow. That's a big charge up there by the Chinese rider. She's on the specialised bike, getting serviced by that team here this week. Irena Kalentieva going through in 3rd, and Natalie Schneider, our early leader, going back to 4th, but only 15 seconds off the lead. Pendrell goes through now in 6th. Lechner in 7th, and Katarina Nash in 8th, Ursel in 9th, and Shafranitz in 10th, so ahead of her teammate. We'll see where Wojciechowska, the world champion, is. She's a little bit further back. Katie Compton going through in 17th, got stung by a bee at Sea Otter, and she's anaphylactic with that and had a tough time while she was up leading the race and had to pull out. So Gunrita Dahler going through in 24th, but I haven't seen now Wojciechowska. She still hasn't come through yet. That's her through now in 27th. So 27th and down but just under a minute. And now we see them go through this feed zone for the first time, getting used. Tech on the left-hand side and feed on the right. So there is Julie Bressette, our race leader from France, the under-23 rider who's opted to race in the elite category. The top under-23 riders can choose not to race the under-23 World Cup, a new category for this year. The under-23 is not racing with the elite, but the top 5 in that category get the option. Fully understanding of your position and not to ride today. There we can see some elbow-to-elbow action there. That's our world champion, Maja Wojciechowska, trying to get in and past one of the, looks like one of the Ghost Riders, is it? It's number 38. And it is the Central High Bike Pro Team. So interesting story there. There is, last year it was the Central Ghost Team, and now Ghost have their own Pro Factory team, the Ghost Factory team. Well, the 2nd, 3rd and 4th chasers now can really see. I don't think that gap's really gone out since she came through at the end of the first lap. She had a 13-second lead over Ren, and looks like that gap isn't too much different, maybe gone out to about 15 or 20, but Ren's still in there fighting hard, and she'll be wanting to keep an eye on that gap, because if she doesn't increase it, there's a bit of pressure that they're just that little gap behind you and they can move up at any time. While she's definitely the rider with form, you can see that arch back there makes it quite a distinctive rider to spot when you're spotting riders. Looks like Pendrell now trying to make a bit of a charge on this gap. So she's moved up to 2nd. We've got Ren Cheng-Wan there from China on the Specialized sitting in 2nd. And now moving up, yes, to 2nd. Pendrell won't be too worried about that unless she gets a real gap. But she knows that Ren Cheng-Wan can sometimes come back and forth in the field. But a strong rider. She's won a World Cup in Offenburg, I remember. And she is a very, very talented rider when it comes down to the power and the climbing. Sometimes a little bit, because someone else's error can really bring you undone as well. We've seen that a couple of times already today as they come under the bridge. Well, now Ren Cheng-Wan has really caught up on Julie Bressette on the SR Sun Tour team.
All of a sudden, she looks dangerous to me.
Yeah, she's got that. You can tell by the body posture. She wants to get right up to that lead, and she did it very, very quickly indeed since we last saw them.
She's very smooth on the technical section. She's obviously worked on that a lot since the last couple of years.
And straight after the Beijing Olympics, we didn't see much from the Chinese national team, and I think there was a lot to do with the government funding post-Olympics, but with the Olympics coming up just next year, here we are again, seeing them a major force on the World Cup circuit. At least Ren Cheng-Wan is out there. I think there is a second one in the field, but Ren Cheng-Wan has always been the real danger from China. As you say, each rider handles that travel from the USA differently, and it might not be her day to day. So Ren Cheng-Wan, plate number 47, the yellow plate there. I'm not quite sure what the yellow plate signifies, because there is no leading team yet. We're at round 1.
Well, I like that Ren is number 47. That's good for me, my first race next year. I won't be starting number 2.
Lene Byberg goes through in position 7. Marie-Hélène Premont sitting in 8th. She wasn't here, like I said, 2 years ago with her studies, but loves this track. When I spoke to the team this morning, she was really looking forward to it. Sabine Spitz moving up from plate 37 to position 9. Schneider holding on to the top 10, but definitely moving back, and Esther Zeus, her compatriot, right there with her at 121 and 125 down. Next one up should be Emily Batty going through now in position 19. And Annie Last, the second of the under-23 riders, going through in 20th place. Georgia Gould still holding down position 21 with Mary McConaughey sitting there in 22. Shafranitz goes through for Poland in 23rd, and Ermiger going up into 24th. Now, a new venue of Novo Mesto in Czech Republic, and then Val di Sole, and then we get into the World Championships in Chambéry as we watch Ren Cheng-Wan now with a gap now of about 40 metres or so over the under-23 rider Julie Bressette from France. And pretty fascinating race, and we've just been joined by Simon Burney, the technical delegate from the UCI, who's responsible for the way the riders get staged, the way the course gets set up, marked, and the start loops and the rain options and all those things that need to go on in the planning of a race. And Simon, we're seeing the return of the Chinese. What official role they have within the factory team as far as support and everything, but you would think after today they'd be pretty mad not to pick her up full time.
I'm sure they would, yeah. I actually thought I'd seen her name on their
yes,
team listing. So,
yes, she's on the team list, but apparently it's done, it's a bit like, I'm trying to think of another team where there's, for example, Maxis Rocky Mountain, Jessica Bush rides for Maxis, whereas Marie-Hélène Premont rides for Rocky Mountain, but they're in the same factory team. So, yes, they're definitely on the list, but as far as staff support, whether it's from Federation Mix or however, but I think that's all rather academic at this point. She's there.
Absolutely.
For the jersey she's wearing there is the national team jersey, I guess, as national champion.
National team, I think.
Right,
Yeah.
national team. So
Yeah,
there's the
national
difference.
team.
She's not in the
Yeah.
jersey or the same as the factory riders from Specialized, but definitely under their team tent, and we saw them down there getting ready earlier today. Interesting race today, always the first time. Fascinating for us to see how people have come out of winter. First time that the World Cup Club is all together to see who's got what form. And we've got 4 or 5 weeks before Dolby Forest for people to have a think about where they are in the field. Any surprises for you out there on the track while you're watching it go on?
Just that first lap, I think Bressette was very good. I think she took the race out, and it was good to see her kind of moving on from last year. And I think I agree totally. The first race is great. It's just seeing how people have wintered, and everyone has a different strategy and a different idea on when to rest and which races to do in the kind of February, March, April time leading into the World Cups. And it's great to see it all shake out, and I think it'll change again between now and Dolby. It's still relatively early in the season, and a lot of teams and riders have had some big travels with continental championships for some of the Americans, and then Sea Otter last week, and then the Americans that did Sea Otter have to travel over here, which is quite rigorous. So I think once it settles down a bit in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and we've got some more C1 and C2 races between now and Dolby and Offenburg, I think these girls are racing now, but they're still going to be racing in October at Roc d'Azur and World Championships in September. So it's hard to keep on the gas the whole season. So they've all got a different idea of when they want to be in shape, and they've all got Olympic qualification for their own country and then their own individual qualification at the back of the mind. And different federations have a different strategy on how they pick their riders. So
On the podium.
they're not. I don't think anybody really knows what goes on in the races they do outside of the World Cups. Nobody ever sees them, and it's quite hard to communicate with them to sort of find out, even to have a chat over a coffee to see what they're doing and where they're going next. And
Canyon Frames from Germany, and she's riding the hardtail, which is the Grand Canyon. There's Ren Chengwan now coming through at the end of lap 3, and still 3 laps to go, or 2 laps to go?
2 laps to go now.
2 laps to go.
Yeah.
So the start loop was counted, is that as a lap, and then
It
you've got
does,
5
yeah.
full.
Yeah.
Okay, so there she goes at 55 minutes or so going through with 2 laps to go. What sort of lap times have they been doing, Simon? I haven't been able to do the mathematics here. But,
They've been doing about 19:20, I think, for their first lap.
So we're looking at around about 1:35, it looks like, for a finish time,
Yeah, exactly.
which is spot on
1:35 to
the new
1:40.
times that you guys have got set up for this year.
Yeah.
And we see Bressette going through 20 seconds down. Now
Yeah, Kalentiev is not kind of sitting on the wheel. I think she's definitely working hard to stay with her.
right, so there's 3rd and 4th going through now.
It is, totally.
She
Yeah.
wasn't jumping up to her feet to get back on the bike. It was
No.
like, do I really have to keep doing this? So, plate number 8 coming through now. This is Marie-Hélène Premont. She should be sitting in the top 10 still. She came through, it looks like she might have moved up on Lechner. So she's going through in 7th. She came through 8th last time round, so she's got past Lechner, who's dropping back. So both of the Colnago riders are heading backwards in the field after starting so strong and leading the race. And I think there's a lot of excitement on the first lap of a World Cup champion. So we watch Ring Chen 1 now, heading across past Marshall Point 7. This is after feed zone, and she would have done the descent. We're looking back now for Bressette, and Bressette quite a distance back. I think that 20 seconds has gone out even further, perhaps.
A little bit, 20-25.
Yeah, so have another look at someone back markers. This is Annika Beerten, the 4-cross winner from last night. The 4-cross round winner, round 1 winning 14 rounds now in her career, and she's moving across the cross country, riding for the Milka Trek team, the Bart Brentjens program, and she came through. I mean, she's not doing too badly at all. She's going to move over to cross country full time in the future, but she's sitting behind Sanders from South Africa.
I think that's great. I've got so much respect for her to do that the day after the 4-cross.
Yes.
She's a 4-cross specialist, and I think it's Yeah, full credit to her for taking on cross country. I think.
And the Chinese rider on the Specialized bike, sitting in first place. But this is an under 23 rider. As I mentioned at the start of the race, it's been a long time since we've seen an under 23 rider really in contention for a win. You'd have to go back to the men's racing of Cadel Evans and Miguel Martinez in the late 90s when that took place. And in women, I really don't recall that ever happening. So except for last year, there were 3 podiums there for Julie Brissett, but she really wasn't on for a win. She was definitely fighting for the 4th, 5th place. She picked up, I think it was 2 4th places and a 5th last year. And the yellow plate there of Ren Cheng 1, as Simon Burney explained, for the number 1 ranked team is Specialized. She's looking very determined. Now, a number's come unpinned there. I don't think that's a fall. I think that might just be the wind having got under it and undone the pins. So Ren Cheng 1, I can't see any dirt on her back. And Julie Brissett, has to be said, the better climber of the two, but she's also pretty handy in the technical sections. Now, she's got to think very much about how much energy she expends on these last laps, because she does have 2 very experienced World Cup riders chasing her down, 3 in fact, with Kalentieva, Pendrell and Lenny Byberg. Pendrell will be getting a lot of information from Waldeck, her team manager, who will be out on the course giving her time splits and so forth. But as the reigning World Cup champion, she knows the overall World Cup is not won in round 1. You have to see where everyone's at and get some solid points in the bag. So if you can start the season with a podium, that puts you in great standing for the rest of the season. As I've mentioned before, Ren Cheng 1 is not the most consistent podium rider, so they may not be too worried about that when they do the analysis at the end of the day and see who came where. A bit more worried about Julie Brissett and what sort of form she's bringing into the 2011 season. Well, the World Cup racing started back in 1991 for cross country. Only 27 women have won World Cup races, and Lenny Byberg is one of them. She was born in Stavanger and lives near Sandnes in Norway, and has been racing since 1999, 12 years racing, and this is her 13th season. There's Katarina Nash, plate number 11. Katarina Nash had a strong result, had some strong results last year. She was 3rd in Dolby Forest. She'll be looking forward to going back to that race again. And she had 2 5ths, so 3 podiums last year. The 2 5ths came in Val di Sole and the Champri World Cup. So, well, stopping there on the side of the track. So she's got some issue there with her Orbea Alma. So she's looking there on the hardtail bike, trying to find out something obviously in the rear drivetrain we can't quite see. But she's having to take that rear wheel out. Is it a puncture? Yes, she's rolled a tyre there. So she's running Maxxis Aspen tyres, and she's running a very narrow one, 2.0. And she's having that look like it's a puncture. Definitely the tyre was off the rim when she took that off. So she's blown it off, and now she has to try and do that herself. She's opting not to get round to the tech zone. We can see now all the main runners getting past. She's going to lose a lot of valuable points and positions now as we see Esther Seuss, plate number 5, go by. Perfect for a mechanic to have riders who are on very, very similar setups, and all 3 of them running the same gear ratios and so forth going into this race. I think it's only Katarina Nash who runs the XTR trail version of the brake lever so that she can adjust the brake pressure, but the rest of them running the typical brand new XTR on their bikes. So here's our leader. This is Ren Cheng 1, plate number 47, and that's probably one of the lowest number plates that's been at the front of a World Cup with a lap to go, and obviously shows that you can come from the back. She would have been on the very back row because there was only 11 riders behind her, so second last row she would have been on the grid, and she's come way up very early as Willow Kerber spotted her very early up into the lead, and right now really taking it to the rest of the field as Julie Brissett drops down. The gap last time through at the end of lap 3 between our leaders was 20 seconds. I feel that has gone out quite a bit. We can see the team manager Bobby Behan from Specialized doing some splits there, and he's in the blue shirt checking where the next riders are. We'll be watching for Lenny Byberg to come through to see if she's moved up on 3rd and 4th. So we'll be looking now for Pendrell and for Kalentieva, but we think that Kalentieva may now have made a move on Pendrell. Last time we saw them, Kalentieva was making a bit of an attack on the climb, and I think she was really holding something back and waiting for this second last lap to make a move on a climb. And we'll see if that's exactly what's transpired as they come under the bridge, and see if it's the white and red and blue colours of the national champion of Russia, or the colours of Catherine Pendrell riding for the Lunapro team. So right now Here we are now in the quarry. This looks like it is Kalentieva just coming through now. So she did make that break on the climb as we predicted. So coming down now through is Kalentieva. And then we see the gap now. So it's a good 10 seconds or so. And that's interesting. So we see now third and fourth have got a gap. Pendrell has been passed by Kalentieva. And it won't be long now before she'll have to look in the rear view mirror figuratively in the race for her next challenger, which will be Lenny Byberg. So the KwaZulu-Natal province, about an hour or so inland from Durban on the coast, as we see Ren Cheng-Wan really attacking that rock garden, looking a lot more confident. So any fears that she had from that spill earlier in the race, they've definitely disappeared now. She goes now into the flat rock garden. Flat rock garden, you can see off to our foreground now. Carry the momentum through there. You don't want to get stuck. We saw quite a few riders getting stuck in practice because they weren't carrying enough speed into that rock garden. Now Bressett, a little more tentative, not as fast, but not a huge difference in time. There we are sitting in second place, and this will be her best ever World Cup result if she manages to hang on to second place. So she's happy with the Dalby course. She'll be definitely one to watch in a few weeks' time when we get to the UK, to North Yorkshire, to see round 2 of the World Cup on the very popular Dalby Forest course. And now we watch Pendrell descend there on the rider's left hand, our right hand side. Quite a bit of difference there between our race leader and the fourth place rider going through in the way that the Chinese rider attacked that section. And we'll see again, watch the momentum that needs to be kept to get the bike through here. You want to get as much speed as you can, get up and off the seat. So it's Kalentieva now who's 1 minute down on Bressett. So I think that might be enough, but we'll wait and see. There's Lenny Byberg coming through now for the final time on the Rocky section in the start-finish arena. So in fifth place goes through Lenny Byberg. So let's have another look at that gap there. Yes, so no change. And we see now the next rider through is Natalie Schneider. She's at 3:57. Premont only 4 seconds behind her, so Schneider's got Premont to worry about. Schneider has come back after dropping out to 10th place. She's back up now to 6th, so she's found a second win, that rider. She was 10th for the last 2 laps and now come through in 6th place, the Swiss. And Marie-Hélène Premont now sitting in 7th place. Sabine Spitz has moved up another spot to 8th. She passed Eva Lechner. And Maja Wojciechowska now into the top 10 for the first time this race, our world champion. So a great ride by her to pick up 3 places in the last lap. And one of those would have been Lissy Ursel, and the other would have been Esther Zeus for sure. So there we are with our leader, Ren Cheng-Wan. Don't be worried about that rider behind. That is not the chase rider. That is an under-23 rider being lapped. This is the first time ever that we've had the under-23 women start separately. They started 2 minutes behind the elite women. And on shorter tracks, that will become a bit of an issue for the technical delegates. They're going to have a little look about that, because they do not want to create an issue where a slower rider in a rock garden falls and they're in another race and they can take out the leader. So they'll definitely be having a little look at that. A lot of people print out the start list just before so they can follow the numbers as well. We don't call every single number through, but if you've got a rider from your country or someone that you know they want to keep track of, live timing and start lists are the way to go. Plate number 12 belonging to Julie Bressett for the SR Sun Tour team. I think they picked up a new sponsor this year as well. Just having a look at that. Number 12, the BH Sun Tour. I keep saying SR, but it's BH Sun Tour. And it looks like Pacey Valandry, probably a local community, sponsoring that program as well. So BH Sun Tour. The French team, quite a lot of riders. I think it's about 7 riders on that program. And their main star is Julie Bressett, but also there's Maxime Marot in the men's as well that we'll see a little bit later today. 36-year-old from Switzerland sitting in 12th, and she was 5th overall in the World Cup last year. Now we watch Irene Kalentieva on the descent on the new canyon. I think that's the Grand Canyon, the hardtail that she's riding now this year. They've changed their sponsor. The under-23 rider doing the great job there of getting out of the way of the leaders. She'd know that people are coming because she would have had first and second go through already. So doing the right thing there and keeping out of the way. No one wants to mess up the riders in the elite race. You want to make friends with those people. You'll be riding with them in the future. but I'm pretty sure it won't be long now before there we are. We've got her now coming in under the bridge, and we get a long shot now of Ren Chen-Wan as she comes under the bridge to finish this 6-lap race, start loop in 5, and she's done a great ride since lap 2. The Chinese rider happy with that, clapping her hands, and she's taken a 3rd historic win for China in World Cup racing, and does so here. And don't they look a force for London 2012, back on target with that national program, and a great ride for the rider from China. So we'll just see as she goes through now. She should be met by staff. There's Simon Burney there, our technical delegate, who was on the mic earlier. We're going to see Ren Chen-Wan joined very shortly by Julie Brissett, the under-23 rider, the best result by an under-23 woman that I can remember. And what a great ride, her best ever, 2nd place in a World Cup after some 4th and 5ths last year. And she's going to take, you can see the smile in the shadows there already, and just joined in the studio now as we watch our French rider come across the line for BH Sun Tour. A great ride, she's very, very happy about that. Took it out from the start and hung on to 2nd place. And joined now by the world champion in the men's field, Jose Hermida. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to talk to you a little bit about the men's race, but have you been watching any of the women's racing? She's going to be someone to watch this year. Another woman to watch, Irena Kalentieva. A top ride for her on the new Canyon bikes that they're riding this season. She looks pretty happy with that as well. It's always difficult at the beginning of the season to know exactly where you are with all the rest of the competitors in the field, so she's got to be happy about that.
Yeah, for sure, especially when most of the riders, they have been split around the world making different races, and probably that's the first race where all the international riders they met each other, and it's always a lotto in the beginning. You don't know exactly what your place in the podium or in the result list.
Exactly. So here we have 4th place. We're going to call the top 5 through. This is Catherine Pendrell coming through, our World Cup champion from 2010, and she seemed pretty happy with that punch in the sky. She came through. Again, a podium at race 1 sets you up with a nice bag of points to kick off the season. It's always good to get the points and not be chasing from behind. You want to have a front row start when it gets to round 2. So that's our 4th place, and the next one in should be Lenny Byberg, coming back from illness and having a great ride here today. We'll see if Specialized get 2 riders on the podium, and looks like it is. Don't worry about the rider on the right there. That's under 23. There, look at the smile. You can see it from under the bridge. So,
she's really happy. She's really happy after a hard season last year, and probably some physical problems now. Come back to the top. It's you can see that she's really happy. For a rider like me that we love mountain bike, it's one of the best places to do the preparation, that's for sure.
A lot of the World Cup riders were there. Barry Stander was there, of course your teammate Ralph Naff, the Flukiger brothers. There's a whole bunch of riders there. Do you take any look at them there and think, wow, look how they're riding, this is going to it gives me more knowledge going to World Cup 1, or is it a completely different type of racing, you don't take any notice of it?
No, it's the same type of racing, most of the cross-country riders, they do the Cape Epic.
Such a human interview, talking about what it's like to win the World Championship, and when you won here 2 years ago, you're here as another rider, but here you're here as the world champion. Some riders, it affects them differently. It gives them a lot more strength, motivation. Some riders feel the pressure. How do you feel? Not many people that are listening to our broadcast know what that feels like. When you come out here, it's the first big race of the season, and you're wearing that jersey. How does it make you feel?
Well, it's a special feeling, First of all, you are the first enemy. In the past, I have been always an enemy for everybody, but now it's they have me on the point of view. I'm
you're on the radar.
The first enemy. But anyway, I think I still keeping the same person, like always, the same smiley guy, and the others, they see me. Probably most of the riders, they don't see me as a world champion. They see me always as Hermida, But yes, for sure, when they look me and they see my racing kit, it's for them it's also give respect for sure.
And then in first place today, starting, and listen to this, in 47th on the grid, Shengyan Ren from China Specialized Factory Racing Team. She looked unbelievable on the course today and really put the girls into the hurt box on lap 3. An incredible effort from her today. Really looked like she was enjoying the bike. Let's give her a round of applause and stand for the national anthem of China, please. Big round of applause. Shenyang Ren from China. All together, please, ladies, for the photographs. If you can all get closer, thank you. Smile, you deserve it. You've worked incredibly hard. Congratulations. Let's give them a round of applause, everybody. What a beautiful podium indeed.